to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pon Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringe-worthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Well, that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
And here we are, episode number 450 of the Trinity Force Podcast, as we finally made it to another milestone. Another 50 episodes past 400.
Full 50. We did it. We did it, boys.
We made it.
Yes.
I hit a big milestone this weekend, which was finishing Persona 5, and 90 plus hours that took. That's why I was gone. That's totally why I was gone, not this fucking audio issue that had been plaguing us for weeks now. And now we fixed it.
We know.
We fixed it. It was both. But mostly the audio issue was actually just a pain in the ass. It's fixed, we think.
Yeah, the time that game takes is the reason why I have avoided it.
That's fair.
I don't know how you finished it. I'm still playing through Mass Effect Andromeda. That was months ago.
I can play other things now and actually finish that Steam backlog that's forever long.
You just want an excuse not to play League, is all it is.
I don't actually have that. I don't want that excuse. I've actually been super busy otherwise. I only was able to put in like an hour or two a night, which I guess is more than
me into
League,
mid lane now. It's not going well. I can't play mid lane.
I'm back. I'm back,
I need
guys.
you.
I wasn't really gone, but that's okay.
Hey,
what are we
doing? Steam sale starts tomorrow.
Oh,
yes. I don't want to look at that because that just means that backlog gonna increase a lot, and it's never gonna get done. Well, it's never gonna get done anyways. Let's be honest.
Until we're retired.
Well,
yeah.
My microphone is looking weird here. Sorry, boys.
What the hell happened?
You know, guys, our visual medium of bad-looking microphones has always plagued us as well. So glad we're addressing that now.
It's just sitting weird. Sorry if there's clicking and stuff as I touch it. Anyway, let's talk about some League of Legends, shall we?
Okay.
We've got more discussion for you guys tonight, as I want to specifically talk about having your cake and eating it too, because Ranhert, we mentioned he came back to League of Legends a few episodes ago, and he's actually become really, really good fodder for the podcast for topics, because he'll talk to me about things, and then I'll get really, really angry. And I'll be like, no, stop trying to do this way. Do this! Do have this lane mechanic, or do this. And then he just goes back and he doesn't listen. The thing he did listen to me, though, was that he started taking Ignite instead of Teleport out of the mid lane. I was very, very happy about that. And then I said, take Exhaust if it's a melee matchup. Stop taking Teleport. It's not fucking worth it in Bronze. You will not use that Teleport ever to your advantage to the point that you need it. So, but this goes back to a conversation that I see a lot of people have, not just my buddy, in that as they're trying to play ranked, a lot of people feel that ranked is the mode that they have to play. They have to jump in the right. They have to play that. They feel that normals, whatever, doesn't test them well enough, or they don't get enough satisfaction out of just playing the game normally. And while they do that, they may have one or two champions that they play, but a lot of people are trying to play champions that have a sub 50% win rate, and they're trying to make those champions work for them. And I think there's a lot of good advice here, like that is for starters, stop playing champions that have a sub 50% win rate if you're actually looking to climb.
Hold on.
Let me continue talking. And you're not already a master with them. Like if you've already made it to platinum, you've already made it to diamond, and you're one trick in that champion that's got a sub 50% win rate. But if you've been hard stuck bronze 1 for eternity, really you need to stop playing those champions that have a sub 50% win rate globally.
Mitch, do you want to go first to me?
You go ahead. I gotta compile a few more thoughts before I respond to that one.
I really don't have an argument with the crux of what you're saying, Pone, because you did mention that if your objective is to climb in a ranked, correct?
Correct.
But that has to be objective. That has to be your goal. Your goal is maybe you have a lot of fun playing a champion that is subpar in the meta, or you just don't have a very good win rate with them. You have a lot of fun playing them, but your number one goal is to climb in ranked. Then it's probably time to look at your champion pool and update that. But if that's not the most important thing to you, then by no means do you need to change your champion pool. If you have fun playing Yasuo, but you're god awful Yasuo, then by all means keep playing him. Maybe you need to stop playing ranked if you're going to do that. But
sure. And that's great.
Do it to have fun.
The whole point of this conversation tonight is to find a way. We're talking people that are hard stuck bronze, hard stuck silver, hard stuck wherever they're at. And I'm talking they've been there for more than one season, and and all their goal is to climb. It's not necessarily have fun. Having fun, winning is fun for them. Climbing is fun. That's what equates to fun. So I'm talking. That's the topic of this conversation. So don't get confused that I'm saying don't play these other champions. I'm saying if your goal is to climb, you need to find those champions that are above 50% win rate if you are hard stuck.
And are we talking about win rate according to champion.gg or a personal win rate? Because I would say the later is more important of the two.
I would say Lawlytics or champion GG.
I'd say
keep in mind. I'm going to keep iterating this topic. Is that these are for people that are hard stuck. This isn't for your average. This is for your average Joe.
You go for it, Todd. I'm still thinking through
okay.
some things.
I want to add in here. I think so like the thing that makes sense is the change. So if you're playing, whatever Yasuo or whatever the pick was, and it's not working, definitely look to switch things up. Like whether it's your itemization or maybe even the lane you play, depending on what character and what role you are already playing. Maybe what you're playing is, a versatile character. Maybe you would do well with that same character in a different role. But I don't think you necessarily have to gravitate towards the characters that are like statistically high win rate percentage. I don't think that necessarily is going to lead you to winning more games. Especially if like that's the mentality you have going into it. Like, oh, I just picked this, so we auto win. Like that's kind of like the wrong mentality, I think, going into the game. But I think the right mentality is like you need to change what you're doing, and like that could mean playing somebody else. But I don't think that's the only way you could learn to climb either.
Yeah, I think that if you're looking to pick up new champions, I have no problem, because I do this all the time when I switch to mid, was figure out who's kind of good and who's working well in the meta so that I could be successful on it, because there's a bit of a depressing issue that could have come up when I switched to mid lane if I just kept getting stomped and like didn't find somebody who did well, if I like had no data to go on, and I was like, I'm gonna play Rise, and then just got my ass stomped, because we all saw how that went the one time I tried it. But I agree, yes, you could, if you need a new champion, sure, but I would also point to, if you are successful with that, I know if you're hard stuck, like try a few games, like I don't know, 10 games is enough on a champion to like figure out if you're good or not with them. I know that's kind of seems like a lot, but if we're talking hard stuck, we're also not saying you're going to immediately climb, I don't know how much in X number of games, but it's something to start improving over time. But I do like picking high win rate champions when the meta fits and I don't have somebody already. I can understand that.
No, and of course there is no magic pill. We've said that for 450 episodes. There is no magic pill to climb. It doesn't matter if you pick Malzahar, who has a 54.61% win rate out of mid. And just because you pick that champion doesn't mean you automatically win the game. You see that a lot in lower elos. Oh my god, such and such is open. You need to play it. Even Zach, who is disgustingly overpowered right now, or you don't even know if you want to call him overpowered, just so much as he's just disgustingly versatile and does everything fantastically, which I guess equates to overpoweredness, but still. Picking Zach doesn't necessarily mean you win the game just because he's really, really good.
I like how Todd put it, that if you're hard stuck, it's the more mentality look to make a change. And I do think that looking at the win rates on a champion GG or low analytics is a good starting point if you need to make a change. Because again, if we're going with the hard stuck mentality or the hard stuck scenario, that means if somebody's playing, again, we'll pick on Yasuo again. If someone's playing Yasuo a bunch, that means their win rate is not going to be very high, above 50%, probably lower than 50%. But you can also look at your personal win rates with other champions as kind of another starting point. Like, well, okay, so Yasuo's not working out, but I'm having a lot of success with Syndra, right? Maybe it's a smaller sample size, but it's worth looking into. Like, sure. If you're 8-0 on Syndra, it's like, oh, well, something's working there. Maybe I should try more Syndra and just see how that goes.
Yeah, there's a lot you can grab from your stats. I wanted to say something else to another point to bring up here to try to get hard stuck is maybe you decide that you don't want to pick a champion that's above 50% win rate. Maybe you decide that you want to stick with that champion because you like it a lot and you see decent success. Even if your win rate is 50%, that's decent success enough for me to tell you to continue to play that champion, even if the champion's at a 46% win rate globally. But the next point to getting better, and it's something that every single person out there overlooks whenever they start playing this game, is actually learning champion matchups. Because I think there's a lot of times that players, they roll it through, they get hard stuck in gold or whatever it is because they don't actually learn what the other champions do on the enemy team. They just know how to play their champion really well, and they try to brute force their way through until they hit a point that people know how to play against that brute force method of Swain, for example, who is literally drop a spell and walk at you. And people know how to counter that by not letting the champion walk at you because they poke you out of lane before you're able to do that. Now, that's not necessarily, I mean, Swain has a really good win rate. He's doing really well, but, you know, that's just an example of one way that you learn how to play against Swain. When his W is down, you full engage on him. Zillion, when his bombs are dropped, you play around the bombs, play around him. Annie, you play around her passive. You know, I can keep going on and on and on down this list until you learn how to play against these specific champions, but you need to spend time watching other people play these champions or even play them yourselves to have a better understanding of how to play the lane that you're in. I think I'm going to pick on Todd here. Todd played into the top lane. I know that you have a lot of champions that you hate playing into, but a lot of top lane is just kind of standing back if you have an unfavorable matchup and waiting. But there's more to that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a depth to it. Like, you know, standing back is okay in some situations if the enemy is going to like shove you in naturally, which does happen if you kind of give up a couple of farm on an even wave. Then it'll start to shove naturally to you, and then the farm disparity, you know, you might be down 15 on the scoreboard, but, you know, his wave is twice as big as yours. When it finally gets to your tower, it's going to even out. And there are little moments like that where it's just about being patient and not losing your cool, because if you go for that one creep that, you know, you thought might have been safe and it wasn't. Now you got chunked for half your health. You either get dove by the jungler, 2v1 in a turret. So yeah, there's like a lot of little finite things that come into play like that.
Can we talk? Go ahead. I see Punch. You're thinking.
Well, you started with champion matchups, and I'm not sure where we ended up now, but my mind went to specific character matchups. Like, if you're learning a champion, it's just as important to learn what they're good against or how they play into certain champions. That's just as important as learning the champion itself, right? Is that the point you were making originally?
I think, way off base here? I think the way I interpreted it was there's nuances to the game beyond learning just what your character is capable of that you need to be aware of. And when you don't have that knowledge or that experience, you're going to be held back because there's like that next level that you just can't reach without that. Yeah,
there is a finesse to laning and being a laner where, you have you have to. I'm going to use Swain for example because he's just so binary. When Swain's W is down, he has no way to corral you and CC you and do all, you know, and pump in some extra free damage into you. So as soon as he uses that W to farm, you have a window of opportunity to trade on him. Jhin could be an example. Jhin uses his 4th shot, or he misses his W. You have a window of opportunity to trade on him because he no longer has those abilities available. Xerath uses an E. He can no longer stun you and do a full combo. I mean, I can keep going on this list, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, you learn how to play into these matchups, and then you learn what your champion can do when that enemy champion has a window to trade. And that's all about how to play laning phase effectively, is looking for those small windows to abuse so that you get ahead. And ahead doesn't necessarily mean you are ahead in farm or you're ahead in kills. It might just be that the person is so goddamn scared to trade with you because you chunked them for a half of your life, like Todd mentioned earlier, that eventually you do start gaining extra CS, or you have the ability. It could even be that you've pushed them to the tower, you chunked for half a life, they can't ever engage on you, jungler's not going to show up, and now you are afforded the opportunity to roam. People ask, when do I roam? Well, roaming is when you have control of the lane, and controlling the lane is making it so the enemy laner doesn't want to leave his lane in fear of dying or having to back to base.
Or missing out a bunch of CS.
what's really cool too about when you get really proficient at specific matchups, you learn to recognize patterns of weakness or strength in either your character or the enemies. And basically what I mean by that is like, so if an enemy uses their escape cooldown, for example, and you play a character like Renekton or Darius in the top lane who is a really destructive all-in, and their escape is on cooldown, you know that you can punish them really hard if you can get on top of them before it comes back.
Sure.
So you learn those patterns when you get really proficient at specific matchups, and then that knowledge helps you learn other matchups more quickly, or even other characters more quickly, because you start to understand like when certain characters are strong or weak based on their ability profile, or like what your cooldowns are and like what moment you kind of, there's just like the knowledge just compounds on top of each other. So it's really worth investing the time.
And I just want to point out that these timings and patterns that we're talking about, these are the windows that we mentioned when we talk about during patch notes, right? Look, I think we talked about windows with Rumble last time. Rumble has a very small window to trade with him because all of his cooldowns are so short. His Flame Spitter was always available. Whenever you wanted to go aggressive on Rumble, he would just use Flame Spitter, and then, all right, well, you didn't really win the trade because you couldn't work around his most damaging ability. So that's what we're talking about in patch notes whenever we mention, you know, Riot's giving this character more of a window to play against, more of a window to trade with. Because a lot of those oppressive characters, they have very small windows. Knowing when to aggress on them is it takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error. And then if you're me, you die a lot, and then you come back to lane and you think, oh man, okay, I can win. I'm not too far behind, and then you die again, and then you go back to lane and you're like, all right, well, I'm just gonna play safe. Then you get ganked and you die again. And yeah, don't do that. Don't.
Well, the next point I wanted to bring up with this discussion of how to, we're really having a discussion on how to master a champion to be able to gain elo. And the next point that I don't think that we talk enough about is actually build adaptation. Because if I go to Champion GG, I'm going to use Jax, which is on the screen. The most frequent core build for Jax is boots. This one says boots into Triforce, but generally most people are rushing Triforce on him. Now, I know there are some other Jax builds out there that are actually rushing Tiamat and not necessarily ever picking up a Triforce because they have a different idea of how to play the game or what they want to do in the game. Maybe if they just want to split push the entire time and be able to duel, they might not necessarily pick up Trinity Force first. Instead, they're picking up Tiamat so they can push the wave faster. But even further beyond that, if I'm into a lane matchup, yesterday I played Jax in the Cassiopeia, I rushed a Hex Drinker. Hex Drinker isn't anywhere. I mean, it's at the very end of this most frequent core build here with Maul and Malmortius, but nowhere in this build does it say pick up a Hex Drinker because you're playing into an AP champion top lane. And there's too many players out there that look at something and go exactly the way it says, that a build guide says, right? Some build guides will even be like, you need to rush into Triforce first and never tell you to buy boots. Well, you're buying boots somewhere in there before you even make the Triforce because of the ability to potentially outplay and get to lane faster and whatnot. But build adaptation is it's such a big part of playing this game that it's overlooked quite a number of times when people are trying to push past and trying to figure out that next piece of information they need to work on.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind a lot for me, and I think we've talked about this, is looking at a comp. Like obviously we were talking about Hex Drinker in a specific matchup, but like comps where you recognize either there's a ton of, like the basic one is, oh, there's a ton of AD or there's a ton of magic damage, like itemize against that. But then further down that list is there's a ton of crit. I probably should go Randuin's a bit earlier than I thought, or they have a ton of attack speed. Frozen Heart would make our mid-game team fights much better because you're lowering their effectiveness by a bunch. There's that. We were talking about this in Slack today, I think, or maybe it was yesterday, about the not paying attention to other things besides yourself when you're building. Like when you go back, you're like, what do I need? Oh, I need this damage. That's it. And then you don't look at what's going on around the entire rest of the game to see what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I need everybody else to jump in here and start talking. I'm actually with the least talkative fellows tonight, so I guess I'm doing the most of it.
Oh no, we're the worst. I'm trying to on Monday, right? on Monday, I played a Jax game, and I went T-Force first. Then second item I bought Randuin's because the enemy team had a Fed Yi, and I was landing against a Darius, so armor just made a lot of sense. It didn't really work out that well, though. So in this example, I'm trying to alternate my build to what I see from the enemy team, but it didn't really suit my play style in that game. I was trying to split push a lot because we really couldn't win a team fight. Our team was too far behind. Split pushing was kind of the way that we had to go. But I wasn't building for it. I got the Trinity Force and a Randuin's. I'm not pushing very fast. And this Darius, who is 07 at the time, has a lot of passive gold because his team is taking a lot of towers. I think I can solo him. I can duel him. Turns out I can't. Because, again, I didn't go a dueling split push build. I went some weird armor build. So I'm not sure how this really fits in. It's like I was trying to change my build path for the game, but I think I was too focused on the enemy team rather than what I needed to do, what my role was supposed to be.
Well, you also managed to identify that yourself, which I think is good, considering otherwise some people would just be like, fucking Darius is overpowered, can't deal with them.
Well, I was very confused at the time.
To see what's going on. Well, it's much better to understand what's going on in retrospect, at least.
Yeah, I was the most, Fed Jax. You don't ever expect to lose against an 07 Darius. So I was scratching my head for a while after that one. Like, what happened? Oh, no lifesteal. That didn't help.
Build diversity is like a really exciting part of the game, but it's kind of a shame because a lot of the item builds have kind of gotten homogenized like over the years. Like I think builds were more flexible earlier on in the game's lifespan. But there are definitely some like really extreme examples of characters who have like multiple build paths that are all completely viable. Garen is one of those characters. That's one of the reasons I really like to play him. You can build him like really armor pen heavy, like with flat like lethality, and like focus on destroying squishy characters with low base stats who don't really build armor. You can go for like a high percent pen or like a shred build with like cleaver and mortal reminder type items. He has the crit scaling, so you can go for the crit build. You can go for just a generic tanky build, like if that's like more like how you roll. His ult is magic damage, so like I guess you could build like Void Staff and Sword Boots if you really wanted.
But have you?
Actually, yeah. Actually, when DFG was still in the game, if you built that and you used DFG, you could ult people like 50%. Oh,
ouch!
It was really horrible though. It was trash. It was just like you beat people who you were gonna beat anyway. Like it didn't matter.
Right.
But you used to have people like Poppy and Nidalee, and there are others that I can't think of right now that could go AD or AP. You know, the most extremes, the two different extremes that you could go as far as build diversity goes, and they've really taken that away, and it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, there's like a few examples still. Like Ezreal still kind of can do that. Corki, they sort of embraced it with Corki, but I still don't think he's worked out the way they really wanted him to.
I'm sad that I didn't get to talk about him last week, but I'm happy with the direction they're going. The new changes, I guess, because he's such in the dumpster for a while.
Well, we talked about Corki outside of the podcast, and I guess we can talk about him a little bit now because that's fine. Because Corki is one of those champions, like a handful of others, that look like they should play one role, aka bot lane, but because of changes to their kit, they actually have to play another role. For example, using Corki, his passive with that the giant rocket pack, he has to play mid lane now because there's never any reason to have your AD carry engage a fight or even have that ability on them because they put themselves in such a weird position that he has to play out of mid to do anything with it. And it's a very, very good roaming tool because you gain all that extra speed. There's so many stats going for him that allows him to play out of a lane. I mean, you can play top lane Corki, I'm not telling you not to, but for one ability, because of one ability, he has to play another role because you don't get the most out of that ability if you play it on like bottom lane, for example.
Right. I think it's more of the opportunities that mid lane provides him as opposed to like not having an AD carry initiate, which you don't really want to do. But like mid Corky's not building tank anyways. He's not really an initiator. He just kind of shows up to the fight and I'm trying to avoid using the word initiation because I just said he's not an initiator, but he can create
He disrupts
disruption and stuff for.
He's got a rumble. Yeah, so it's a disruption.
I think this highlights a problem with Riot's design philosophy in the last couple of years. They've adopted this train of thought where they will basically strip down a character's strength from like the basic part of their kit and put a lot of it into like a gimmick, and they make that like, oh, this is the highlight of this character, this is what makes this character unique.
Skarner and Aspires.
And sometimes it works out,
Aspires.
And sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes you get a character that turns out to be really good and really strong for it, like Graves and his whole I'm gonna short range, real shotgun shell pellet thing. That turned out to be really cool because he's a ranged character who is stronger than melee characters in melee range. Like it's awesome for him, so he's great. Like
Zaya's a good example of that, actually. Of a good example of that plays really well with Rakan, where she gets some extra range and she's able to back, but she doesn't need Rakan to succeed. So her kit, she's got this really unique identity where she can play with another champion, but she doesn't need that champion to be good. And I think that's a good route to go, and I think it's like a very good point to bring up, Todd.
And like Garen's another, luckily fits this discussion too, like the whole villain mechanic. His early game kind of got stripped down significantly for the villain mechanic, and there are times where it feels good, but there are a lot of other times too where you kind of feel like the design or the strength of your character's held back a little bit by these choices they make to like over devote resources to this stuff, and then it totally changes the identity sometimes, as in the case with Corky and Graves, who just don't go bottom lane anymore.
Yeah, that's the balancing act that they're trying to do is give each of these characters a unique feel, so they feel unique to play. Man, I'm really struggling with vocabulary tonight. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, so they feel unique to play and fun to play, but they're still balanced. And the more you go towards that unique route, the harder it is to balance. Like, how do you put so much power on Skarner Spires and expect him to be balanced outside of his Spires? He's either powerful outside of his, or he's either balanced outside of his Spires and overpowered in them, or vice versa. He's balanced around the Spires or underpowered outside of them.
Mitch, do you remember your...
Well, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to cover with Corky. I was just gonna point out the shift towards, like, I like that a lot of the AD carries got that identity update. I guess almost a season and a half ago, whenever it was, that huge update of identity. And Corky and Ezreal both kind of fit the same ish role in terms of the caster AD carry, but Ezreal kept the I still deal physical damage, and Corky has now been shifted to the I deal almost entirely magic damage now. Like but he still gets a bunch of magic damage from building AD. I don't know where they're trying to go with this, except that he's obviously Worlds is coming up in a couple months. He has to be viable because that is how Corky always goes. I don't know. I haven't gotten to try this change. I'll probably play it tonight because he's doing better, and Corky's still one of my favorite champions.
Overall, I think that large marksman update was a success for the most part. Yeah. I really like what they did. I like that they're trying to add flavor to these champions. It's that every so often it misses the mark, and they need to revisit a champion later. I think Corky might have been a casualty of that, where he was very successful at first, but he was too powerful, and now where is he?
Well, Kog'Maw.
Well, the thing is
he's the one that you could look at because they gutted his kit. I mean, they completely changed it, right? Like they wanted to make him this mobile turret, and they completely took everything they did with him and just reverted it back to his normal state. Now they fucked with some numbers in there, but yeah, they took him and turned him back to regular old Kog'Maw.
Really he was also like.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Right before they changed his kit back, people were just starting to get like really, really insane with his mobile turret. I remember seeing like videos. I think they were scripting too. Like the scripts were coming out for it, and like with the scripts, you could just gun down like a whole team 2v5 if you had a support to just help you even the tiniest little bit. Like, it was insane.
I've got a plays video out there where there was a definite Kog'Maw scripter playing against me because there was no way he was pulling off those moves without a script. Never. Go ahead, Mitch. I know.
I was just thinking about the whole marksman update. That's the only time they've had like no champion, like no lane was so homogenous before, like besides obviously bot lane where it was I am a ranged character so I shoot stuff, and then they finally changed it to be like these weapons make sense to do something different, which I really liked. It's not like Darius and Renekton were going to be like we got to change them because their weapons don't fit what they do. They make perfect sense. Like I really enjoyed that change that happened, but Corki's like it just is like, oh, he just still casts stuff. I don't know what you would do. I don't know. You can't like fly up into the air like Xayah because that would be crazy. Just add more random power to him.
A lot of the more untargetable ADCs.
A lot of the problem with Corki and Ezreal is that itemization is really poor for them, and I think the only logical step for Riot, maybe it's not logical, is that they need to start making specific items for specific classes, because they've done this whole class update where they have classes and subclasses and stuff. But I think that I'm sure they've tinkered with it, and there's got to be a reason out there that they're not doing it. There's a reason I'm overlooking. But like Ezreal and Corki's itemization is so poor, and their item spikes are so bad compared to the other champions that could be good in bottom lane. Even Tristana is doing better than Ezreal because Tristana only needs an item and a half to come, online, even if it's 70% online, while Ezreal needs 2 full items before he's doing any damage. And this is why I wish Skarzard still worked for Riot, because I'd make him come on here and actually tell me why they're not doing that. But there's got to be a reason that they haven't tinkered with subclass specific items. For those of you not in the know, they change a lot of items like Blade of the Ruin King and Lethality and stuff because assassins end up using those items that would be really good in these AD carries, and the assassins or juggernauts just get out of control.
Yeah, I realized that. Jesus, I'm thinking about Ezreal. Like, there's so many items that could have worked. Like Essence Reaver, when it first dropped, like was good for just having all that mana. But then you want mana immune, so you can have all the like using the mana. But then you need to have a tier for a while. But also T-Force is good, and so is Bark. Like Jesus, if you had like 12 item slots for Ezreal, he'd be. I mean, obviously that wouldn't happen, but he would be one of the people who I think would do crazy
and double the gold income.
Yeah. Essentially Earth mode, except with like unlimited inventory, which sounds horrifying. I never want to think about.
Trinity would be the best character in the game.
Oh yeah, with his ultimate, yeah. Corki did at least make it back onto the play rate. He's actually listed as an 80 carry again, not by much, and he's the second last win rate. But he's at least back on when he wasn't even making it to the list before.
Hooray for Corki.
Yeah.
I mean, Urgot's coming back too. Urgot's coming back. That changed.
Just in time for him to get changed.
Shotgun. Well, no. I want him back on. Well, I don't know where, but I'll play Urgot the second he gets the rework.
Well, if he's a ranged bruiser like he's supposed to be, take him mid. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I've done that. I did
range juggernaut or whatever.
I did Urgot top as sleeper.
Yeah, I did it. That's one of my last, most recent top games was Urgot.
There's did you guys ever see the leaks that came out that hit Reddit periodically? And so far they've been almost right completely, if not completely right. Where they came out and they actually said that Urgot has shotgun knees, and he's got shotgun knees. And I think they said he has a meat grinder where he's pulling a champion into them and grinding them up and shit.
It sounded like a Blitzcrank pull, except when they got to him, they would be stunned or Tom Kench eaten or something.
So
I mean,
I'd be cancer.
He is.
Oh my god!
Exactly.
I mean, hey, Urgot had like all of one time when he was even played in the pro scene, so he needs some love. Like he had that. Like I think Yellow Pete played him. Maybe with like Soraka, because that was my thing
for a while.
I think that was the Soraka time.
Yeah. That's what Soraka could still give mana. Which, holy shit, that was my season 1 in a nutshell. That was amazing. But like, I love the lock-on mechanic. Like it's so unique and it's so annoying when you're on the receiving end of it. But it's also very easy to counter, which sucks. Unless you're playing against people who just have not played against Urgot, which it wouldn't surprise me if we played a game tonight and no one had played against Urgot. On the other
you can't play Urgot and Corky. Come on.
I'm not going to play Urgot. I mean, if I asked in all chat, how many of you have played against Urgot in the last 4 years? I bet it would be between 0 and 1.
Well,
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen Urgot here and there. We've got a few minutes left to kill in this podcast. By a few, about 15, 20 minutes. Let's jump and Let's dive into some listener questions.
Let's dive right in.
After
you clear your throat.
Yeah.
Did you mean die after all?
Hey. All right, Snow Spider 29 writes in. I recently started playing Galio support and was shocked to see the lack of material on builds. What do you all think is the best build after patch 7.12? Also, does he actually work as a support? The fun thing about Galio is that he's such a fantastic flex pick for 3 roles that he does work well in support.
So the weird thing about builds, I think, when it comes to champions like this, is he feels like kind of a Braum character where you're gonna sit back for the longest time. And I'm not saying that means you take coin. You're gonna be very unimpactful and maybe as a counter engager. Like you can maybe poke a little bit with your Q and taunt and punch people if they jump in, but for a while I just don't see anything happening. Builds wise, you just need to be super tanky. There's nothing.
Yes.
I don't think there's any secret to this because you're not going to be dealing the damage. You're not going to be doing enough damage to really be anything extraordinary to go very off that build path super hard. But was it Stone Goyle plate? That's not what it's called.
Stone plate.
I was kind of close.
So close.
But that'd be a great item. You're essentially just how can I apply the most CC to the most people and protect or peel, which is I guess you can do kind of effectively. Just be alive. That's all you have to do.
Sure. Yeah.
Carpe diem.
AoE taunt is very good for. AoE taunt is very good for peeling. Yeah.
I probably should have waited for Dom to be here because he could have talked about this. But with supports, I think too many people overthink build pass with supports, and this goes back to the conversation earlier where you're looking at what you need to do for your team and how you need to build them. If you're playing Galio support, you're building normal support items because what you're there for in the early game is for percentage of life poke, and of course there's really good engage, and he doesn't take a lot of damage. So you tend to build him, like Mitch said, in a Braum style. And you need to go ahead and, you're picking up Locket, you're potentially picking up Knight's Vow, you're picking up Mikhail's at some point in there. You may even go ahead and pick up Zeke's if you really want some extra damage for your carry because you've traded through the lane. But Galio has such good base stats that all you're doing is compounding on that when you're buying normal items, and that's why he becomes such a fantastic flex pick all around.
Didn't Zeke's just get changed, or is that next patch?
It did get changed. Some people say it's really good, but
okay,
I don't know for certain yet.
Zeke's conversions, that's right. That did just come out. It's
trying.
It's just staying alive. That's all you have to do. The way I think about it is play it like you'd play an Alistar or a Mundo when you're in an ARAM, where you're just trying to be as influential for as long as possible. And that's applying CC. It's doing as much as you can to annoy the enemy team, because that's what Galio's going to do out of the support role. He's not going to jump in, blow somebody up. Maybe if you were playing the weirdest pick comp where you have to flash taunt in to get the one person, which is great. Yeah, sure. If that's going to win you the game, go for it. But yeah, it's the build path. You don't have to overthink this at all.
Is Stoneplate too expensive for supports? You think it's 2,500? I mean, it is a really good item on him. I just don't know if support Galio would get it. He certainly wouldn't rush it. Maybe no,
you definitely wouldn't rush it. I mean, Locket's 2,200. I mean, it's a later item, but I don't know. I don't see any reason not to. If you need to go, you see what you need later on in the game, and that's a situational fourth.
Well, thankfully it's got armor and magic resist, so And it gives you health.
Yeah,
so you can always use it.
Literally all the things. I guess if you want like any more detail of an answer there, maybe CDR, like getting to a high amount of CDR on somebody like Galio, who's just going to play CC Peelbot. Yeah, CDR will be very effective. Hitting that cap means you are that much more effective, even if you are like a little bit less tanky. I would say CDR might be a bit more valuable there.
Galio becomes a really good peel bot, regardless. Like you are follow up engage. You are not primary engage. So if you're playing Galio support, you're building around that. And I don't know how much more discussion there can be into support items other than build what you think works best for the team and continue to go out there and try it. Because supports don't have... shit, goes back to Todd's point. Supports really don't have that mini build pass that they can go. There's a handful of items, and you just pick and choose those items based on the way the game is playing.
And since you brought it up... Oh, never mind, go ahead. I was going to go to a different topic.
The last part of your question was saying, does he actually work as a support? I would say the biggest question of like his laning phase, now that I've spent a good couple minutes actually thinking about it, would be if you hit your E, which I think is the punch, like then you can follow up and do stuff. But if you don't hit your E, don't like if you like whiff it but you're still next to them, don't like force it because you've lost a lot of damage after that point. Like I think that would be kind of the binary version of when you are able to use support Galios. If that E hits, keep going, but if not, don't force it because you're playing from behind at that point.
Yeah. The Q is enough of a zoning tool to allow you to set up for an E, which is really nice because it does leave behind a little, that little tornado that's doing damage, so you're forcing people to walk out and around it. So yeah, Galio does absolutely work as a support, 100%. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question.
I want to make one point here, since we touched on Galio, either
I
being
saw that hand motion. That was for
whatever. I mean, if you guys want to keep fucking talking about
step
Galio
aside,
support.
Pone. I got something to say.
No, motherfucker.
So we mentioned Galio being a secondary engage tool or a peeler. I just wanted to stress the importance of identifying which of those you need to do during the fight. If you have a strong engage like a Warwick and he's jumping in and your team is winning team fights when he engages and you follow up, then keep doing that. But if your team isn't winning those fights, if you don't have a strong engage, if the enemy team is engaging on you, then do not look to engage with just as punch as Galio and get to their back line. Instead, start looking to peel. Because Galio is he's one of those heroes that can do either or. And I feel like people kind of fall into that trap where they just focus on one thing, like diving, and they just try and dive every team fight, and it doesn't work, when they really have an option to step back and peel and let their carries take care of the fight for them. And Galio is very good at that. So just wanted to get that out there.
You didn't need to get that out there, motherfucker.
I wanted to get that out there, and you can't stop me. Well, it's already out there.
I didn't. I was too busy messaging Jiggly about the LCS rundown, so... let's talk about Aquario's question. Yeah, it's got to roll this down, too. He's one-tricking a champion, and he wants to know how to approach rank with that one trick. From a broader standpoint, how should one-trick players approach rank if their champion is banned fairly often? This goes back to...
I got a great idea. Rewind the podcast to minute 2, and then just listen to that again, probably. Like that's like you need to pick up a new champion. Like that was kind of the entire discussion that we just had.
I'm gonna add in here just to be thorough. When you approach rank with a one-trick mentality, you have to keep in mind that every character fits and does not fit well with certain team comps, and sometimes you're gonna lose the game in champ select based on what you guys picked because your character just didn't fit the composition. Even the strongest characters in the game, there are situations where they just don't work out still. So keep that in mind. Get used to dodging as well occasionally. Either if you're in champ select and you recognize like team comps that are bad, like what I just said a second ago, or like you get hard countered. He's talking about his jungle pick, but for people who one trick like lane characters, if you get a really bad lane matchup and you think it cost you the game, then dodge, because 3 LP in 5 minutes is not a big deal when you don't lose any MMR. And even your second dodge, like you have to wait like a half an hour, like whatever, dude. Like go eat something, like go for a walk, like take a break, play something else, come back. Like losing LP is never worth. The secret to climbing is keeping your MMR high. If your MMR is high, your LP gains will increase. So you can make that LP back. So abuse the fuck out of dodge.
Yeah, I need to. I think me and Dom had a discussion about that on our 2-man show recently. Of just like we had a game where he was put into the 80 carry role, and he's not super comfortable in that, and we forgot that I had a dodge and could have just done it, and we didn't, and that kind of sucked in retrospect because I haven't gotten to that mentality of remembering, hey, I've got this free thing every day to use. Why don't you just use it if you can kind of see the writing on the wall already at Champ Select?
Yeah, and realistically, you can use it twice a day without it being a significant penalty.
It's 3 LP and what is it? It's
3 LP in 5 minutes, and then it's like 7 LP in a half an hour.
Gotcha.
So like the half an hour sort of sucks, but it's really not that bad. Like a game that you would have lost could have easily been longer than a half hour.
Sure.
Yeah. As for like approaching rank though, if you've been playing this champion for a season and a half, or I don't know when you started in season 5, but like if you've been playing that for a while, like don't just keep playing it. Don't worry about it. That would not be a broad concern, but yeah, if it is getting banned out, that's when you got to pick somebody else up. I don't. Sejuani doesn't like. She doesn't seem to be getting banned that much anymore after the rework, but that's just
I've rarely seen her banned at all. Yeah, so I wouldn't think you have to worry about that. It's a Sejuani one trick.
Right. Well, maybe lower elos she gets banned. I know Amumu gets banned in lower elos and whatnot. So
yeah, tanks are scary in lower elo.
Let's talk about Nishibble's question because I want to tear it up a little bit. I'm a jungle main who's been playing off-roll supports because I'm nervous about my laning ability. Is it worth my time to spam practice at other roles and flex norms, or should I just accept my inability to CS and continue to climb as a dirty jungle support main? I think you should drop support, pick up jungle, dodge if you don't get it, and keep playing until you make it work. Because if you are a main in a specific role, you are comfortable in that role, and you know you can carry from that role, you just need to play that role. If you're nervous about your landing ability, just don't do it. Do what we said, dodge. But like anybody out there that's playing these type of things, like stay in your role and do really well in that role. And if you get the off roll, dodge once, and if you get it again, maybe you dodge again if you don't have time or to play anything else, or you dodge it and you just move on with your life. So I'm just like, when people play this game, I think it's a natural human reaction to sell yourself short. You say, well, I had a bad game, I'm not really that good with this champion, I'm not really good with this lane, or whatever it may be, and then you get nervous to keep playing. And the fact of the matter is that when we play this game, we all lose. And so you can't be afraid to lose, and you can't be afraid to screw up, because it's all learning opportunities for you. So getting in there and playing jungle and just sticking to that, you'll climb. You'll find what you're looking for if you just stick to jungle.
I don't have a problem with doing jungle support though.
You're gonna get support 100% of the time.
No. The thing is, I think I've been hearing that that's not been happening. Like I've heard that this season it's actually been a lot better at prioritizing your main pick. Even though I know that support's probably still the least picked by a significant margin, it seems that it's been better than, oh, I picked support as my second, and so I always get support. It seems like it's been going way better. And I would say that those two roles are both very impactful across the map, and so I could see that being a good tandem if you're doing well with support there. As somebody who had to learn to CS again this season, I understand that issue, but I have no problem with him playing both.
It seems like he's comfortable playing jungle and support. It seems like his question was more like, should I consider switching my off role from support to like top mid or ADC, not because he's not comfortable with support, but he thinks, I mean, you kind of talked about he's sort of doubting himself. I'm not really sure. I sort of had a point, but I guess it's basically
your point is don't break what, or don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to. I mean, if you're finding success, with jungle and support, you don't really need to change that. if you're considering changing role, it should be for like an intrinsic reason, like it's more fun to you or something like that.
Yeah, you have a genuine interest in mid or top or whatever, and you really want to experiment with that lane in normal games for a period of time.
Like fun facilitates enthusiasm, and enthusiasm facilitates good practice, which will make you a better player, which will equate to you climbing faster. So, if you're having fun and you're having success, don't change anything.
That's the perfect combination there. Fun and success. Oh man, sign me up.
And if you're missing
Sled every day.
If you're missing one, you gotta find it.
Well said.
My Kled win rate sucks. That's. I wish it was not the case.
But you like playing.
I'm only having fun, no success.
You know what? You do what you feel is right, of course.
What is your heart?
I'm dragging you guys down with me, so I don't
Star
mind.
Wars quotes, no one. All right. Fuck you,
What?
bunch of goddamn nerds.
What's Star Wars? What?
What did you say?
Nothing. If you guys didn't fucking
Nothing
hear it, never
important.
mind. Yeah. You guys are just awful.
Okay.
Don't fucking listen.
Yeah, we are pretty bad.
I'm actually purposely dodging Wood Dogs because I think I need to reply to him individually, primarily because he sent his game in with it. So Wood Dog, if you're listening, I'll have a reply to you individually. I know that Todd and I briefly talked about it in chat a couple weeks ago when it came in.
Okay,
And,
we have the really good meta question left then.
I don't ever want to do this question. I'm sorry, Eric F. So here's what happened. Eric F. wrote in, and he's like, "Hey, if there was a tournament where every skin had to be used on a team, what skin team would win?" No. I'm sorry. If there was a team made up of champions from a specific skin series, that's the way he worded it. So like you have the SKT1 2015 series or 2016 series, what would they win? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this question. Because I don't know every fucking thing that these I mean, Dom did a really good job of putting these all in here, but I think I'm going to save this question, Eric. This question is going to sit in our document for a very long time, and Dom actually got mad at me because I told him that. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a fun stream here in a couple weeks, and
we get to try all of these in a row.
We're going to have a discussion about this stuff. What I need to do is I need to bring back the game show episode.
Yeah, we had a great idea for how to make that a little bit better too.
We did.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah,
I had an idea. I had an idea for it.
Give it to me right now.
It was instead of you providing all the questions, it's everyone pulls it in 5 questions, and we each ask them. So it gets real interesting with whatever. So like I'm not eligible to answer my own questions, obviously, but the other X number of people are. Also, I would say, Eric F., I don't know if you're asking, would a team of 5 actual players playing a line of skins versus any other line of skins win, or do you mean like in the lore of like their splash arts?
Victorious plays.
I could see either one. But what does that mean? Is it like the lore of those champions, or
it probably means like based on the general strength of the characters in the game,
right?
You know that you could make a team comp of.
Some of them have 6 skins. So
the other reason I don't want to do this question is because it actually takes a lot of prep, because I have to look at every single fucking team composition and figure out how that team composition will play into the other one and what
there's a lot of overlapping characters too. A lot of the characters have multiple of these skins.
Sure.
How about what if we each ranked them from 1 to however many there are, and then we just put that together and we just told them one time?
That is still a lot of fucking work, because then I have to go.
That's not that much. You can literally put on a randomizer if you're that lazy.
I can do a top 3. It's the best I can do. And it will be SKT for everyone, just different year.
I think you mean it'll be Commando, and then it'll be who cares for number 2 and 3.
Well,
sounds like we have a debate on our hands.
I think in a few weeks, specifically before I leave for my small sabbatical with the baby, we're going to have another fun episode. But it's not going to be about the history of the Trinity Force podcast, because Todd can't answer all of that.
No, I can't.
When's the baby due?
August 10th. She'll likely be here before that, though.
Oh, shit. A month and a half?
Yeah, I have a feeling the baby will be here end of July.
Baby, I get it.
Yeah, I'll starting for anybody out there that's listening, starting about September 1st, I won't be on the podcast for probably about 3 months. I mean, could be depending on schedule and if we can work it out, but definitely won't be on twice a week. So
it's cool. We'll take care of everything.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
How dare you have a life?
Yeah, how dare I?
Yeah, what's up with the hosts of both main podcasts doing this now? Having children, or at least deciding to have children at the very least.
That's what happens when you've been doing a podcast for 4 years and grow up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say some snarky comment about, I've been doing this podcast. Well, Mitch, you're rolled on what, 3 years?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
So that's across a bunch of things.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been doing it for a while. Mitch and I, man, so many good stories. I just won't get into it. All right. Well, I think we'll end it there.
We'll have campfire stories as one of the episodes sometime.
Like the time that I slept next to Mitch on the couch watching CLG shit the bed with Nintendo playing Top Lane Trundle. That was great. Middle of a Saturday afternoon.
God, you remember way more of this than I do, or at least the details of. But I think there were a lot of car bombs that night.
So.
There was a lot of car bombs, so that was involved.
Well, I just remember us sitting on the couch that we kind of passed out for 20 minutes and woke up and went, oh shit, CLG is losing.
Yeah, it was real great.
But all right, that's enough, guys. That's the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Oriana's being recorded this weekend for Patreon. Do you have the second one lined up, or do I need to get you that second one?
Tarek guy never got back to me.
All right, I'll find you a second one. So we at least have Oriana coming out this month, and we'll try to get another one out for you. If you have a replay review, I'm getting to those. I've been talking to you guys individually. Other than that, thank you so much for listening, watching, and supporting the Trinity Force Network. Good news, new website's coming out very soon. You guys will be able to check out the beta. Other than that, we will see you all on Monday with a new episode. So, guys, well, see you then. Peace.
Later.
See you guys.